Welcome, everyone, to this Oneness in 12 Spheres of Life Global program. I'm Steve Farrell, the Worldwide Executive Director for Humanities team, and it's great to be with you. We have a fabulous program in store. I'd like to invite my co-host and guest to just come on real quick to say hi, because you can see him on camera here, Anna Marie Peters, and also Jonathan Goldman. Do you all want to just say hi real quick?
Hi, everyone. Hello from South Africa.
All right, Jonathan, you want to say hi? Okay, well, you're going to hear from Jonathan here in just a moment. So thank you again. I'm going to formally introduce Anna Marie and Jonathan here in just a moment. Looking forward to just a great program. This live video format is what we use most weeks when we do our 12 Spheres Living in Oneness calls. They're going to be live broadcasts this year. Usually we'll be doing them on Thursdays. We're super excited about adding live video to our programs this year. A little about Humanities team as we get started. Our focus in Humanities team is to awaken ourself and the world to oneness. We see one presence, the divine, and see that we're all emanations of this one presence. Doesn't matter how far our lives may be from reflecting this truth, it's still true. All of life is a manifestation of the divine, is sacred, and should be treated as such. As we begin, I'd like to invite you to share your questions during this program. The earlier in the program, the better. My partner and colleague, Garth Catterall, is going to come on here in just a second to share how you can bring your questions to us during this live video broadcast. Garth, if you could share, please.
Sure, I can share. There in your control panel, there is a question pane, which you can click the little twisty or the arrow that pops it out of the pane of the control panel, and ask your questions there. We will get to some of them, but ask away. Anyway, thank you.
All righty, thank you, Garth. It's Garth Catterall. Before we bring on our special guest, I'd like to bring back my partner. You can see her on camera here, Anna Marie Peters. She is the co-host of the Oneness in 12 Spheres program and these monthly programs that we do. She's also the country coordinator for South Africa and just a dear, dear person. And Anna Marie, if you could just share a little about today's program.
Wonderful. Thank you, Steve. It's such a great pleasure to be here again. And as we know, it's the start of a new year. And we're starting on a creative note. We are starting with the sphere of the arts. And obviously, sound and music and rhythm and all of that is part of the arts. It's really, what a wonderful way to start the year. We're creating a whole new year, something wonderful for all of us. And as you said, Steve, I am the country coordinator for Humanities team in South Africa. I've been here since 2005. And I always like to share that I am from the land of Ubuntu, that I like to refer to as Africa's gift of oneness to the world. And I've been with Humanities team serving on a global level in many ways, and here specifically, obviously, in the Oneness in 12 Spheres of Life initiative together with you, Steve. We've been coming a long time, isn't that so? And I think we've made great strides with this initiative, and I'm really looking forward, like all of you, to listen in and to participate and to the inspiration and to be with you, Jonathan. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Anna Marie. Yes, so our call is focused on the arts, and really looking forward to this program with Jonathan. Let me now just give a brief introduction to our special guest here. Let's see here. Jonathan Goldman. He's the creator of Healing Sounds and the World Sound Healing Day. He's an international authority on sound healing and a pioneer in the field of harmonics. He's the author of Healing Sounds, Shifting Frequencies, The Lost Chord, the director of the Sound Healers Association, and he's a Grammy Award nominee. In the spring of 2011, Jonathan was named as one of the Watkins Review's 100 most spiritually influential people on the planet. In 2011, Jonathan was inducted into the Massage Therapies Hall of Fame. He presents Healing Sounds lectures, workshops, and seminars worldwide. Jonathan lives with his wife Andy in Boulder, Colorado, and may be reached at healingsounds.com. Welcome to the program, Jonathan.
Steve, what a blessing to be here. And Marie, what a blessing to be here. Everyone who's listening, what a blessing to be here. And I want to first and foremost say that I am a person of sound, and therefore it seems only appropriate that due to circumstances beyond my repair in terms of technical difficulty, I am not projecting a video, which seems for an audio guy to be totally self-evident. So we're going to be listening to and learning about how to use sound for personal and planetary healing. It's all in my voice.
All right, fantastic. Well, you have a beautiful voice, brother. Great to be here. We're going to bring in a cut, one of his musical pieces here shortly. Let's just jump right into questions. Anna Marie and I have some great questions for you. And again, in the chat window, I'm checking. Yeah, we've got questions coming in, I think, already. So we're going to get to your questions here as well. This is a live program. Jonathan, let's start with just a little bit of history, if you don't mind. Your dad was one of the pioneers in plastic surgery. So just if you could tell us, how did you venture into healing sounds to do this pioneering work that you're doing from a family that started plastic surgery?
Well, as a reality, Steve, I am actually the only member of my family, both my immediate family, but also all my cousins, who is not either a doctor or a lawyer. I am the proverbial Indian chief of sound. And I got that way through an experience where I was playing music in a club. And I literally had this, I don't know what exactly occurred. I like to say the light of God struck me when I was on stage, but I was performing and I was looking out at the audience, and I was performing in kind of a bit of a, what might be considered sort of a punk rock group at the time. Mind you, this was in the 1970s, and I was a pretty young man, and all of a sudden I became aware that the music that I was creating was helping induce an ambiance of negativity and violence. Now, no doubt the alcohol and the other intoxicants that people were imbibing was certainly helping, but I also realized that the music that I was creating was adding to this. And I just had the thought, what if music could be used to make people feel better? And then about a week to 2 weeks later, that thought basically shifted a little bit, and all of a sudden the thought or the question came into my psyche of, what if sound could be used to heal? And from there, which has been well over, it's been nearly 40 years now, I have basically dedicated my life to researching the uses of sound and music for healing and transformation.
Yes, and and it is marvelous music. Jonathan, can we bring a cut in now? Just so we've got the experience of healing music. Many of the people on the program probably have familiarity with your work. You do incredible work worldwide, but some maybe haven't heard it.
Thank you. And basically what I'd simply like to share is that one of the ways that sound can heal us, that music can heal us, is simply it goes into our ears and into our brain and affects our nervous system. So here we go with a little bit of something called de-stress, because so many people are stressed out. I created something that really, hopefully, helps us just chill out, relax, and enjoy the oneness of all. So in that brief amount of time, we heard a little bit of an excerpt from De-Stress, which actually is included as a part of a download for a new book that of mine that just came out, which is a revised edition of the 7 Secrets of Sound Healing from Hay House. So I would think, how do you feel from listening to that? A little more chilled?
Wow,
Oh,
so beautiful. Yeah, it's just
beautiful.
so.
So it's really interesting how, once again, sound goes into our ears, goes into our brain, goes into our nervous system.
Yeah,
And,
beautiful.
I mean, what's really important is that the sound can either stimulate us, sometimes make us aggressive, or it can basically help us relax and meditate. And I've been focused on the latter for the last while, and I think a lot of people on this planet really could utilize these types of things because, just as an aside, many, many years ago, I had created a recording called Dolphin Dreams for the birth of my son Joshua. And it was supposed to, if you like, emulate the if you like, a dolphin-assisted water birth, which was quite popular in the late 1980s. And I remember I sent a copy to Vogue magazine, and they reviewed it, and they said, "Reduce stress without Valium," which I thought was very insightful.
I'll say. Jonathan, how do the inspirations come to you? Or your music is so it's diverse and impactful. Where do the inspirations come from? How does it work for you to take that inspiration and then transform it with your wife Andy into the healing music that you create?
Well, in truth, Steve, I gotta say I don't know, because as a reality, from the divine, of course. But oftentimes I will be listening to a recording that I have created, and I'll go, how did I do that? So at a time, if you like, I'm working on something, either recording it or mixing it or doing something, and something literally takes over me and, moves my hands and does this and that, and the thing is created, and then I go back to it and I go, wow, that's really interesting. Because on a conscious level, oftentimes I'm not sure that I have the ability to do what has manifested. So I just give thanks, that's all. I can only be grateful about having had, if you like, the inspiration to do this from whatever source it is, whether you call it angels, spirit guides, higher consciousness, the Gaia consciousness, whatever. It's a really interesting phenomena. It's often been my belief that this happens to many great creators of the arts, and I'm not saying I am a great creator of the art, but Michelangelo, when he did the Sistine Chapel ceiling, I'm sure he had some assistance besides his own fabulous artistic ability when he did that.
Anna Marie, do you want to come in? I know your wheels are turning here.
Yeah, Steve, what I'm thinking immediately as Jonathan shares that his love or his full-time occupation of his life comes from since he was very young. And I'm not going to go into my story about all of that, but it's also so for me. I grew up in a house where music was part of our everyday living. And, I'm also from the continent of Africa where sound and music and rhythm is just so much a part of who we are. But so again, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but certainly, definitely, the reason why I am here today sitting in this conversation is exactly because and due to the influence of music, and specifically an African lullaby that I heard the African lady who worked in our house at the time, that I heard her singing to her baby when she was crying and restless. And that made such a massive impact on me that I felt compelled that I wanted to share with the world something that I'd heard, but I had no idea of how I was going to share this, because it's almost like, how does a little girl make a big story out of love? Because that is what I heard. I heard her sharing love and true unity and connection. And until today, I remember I wanted to make a school play out of that, and until this day, I can't remember whether I actually performed that play live at school or not. But what I know for certain is I'm sitting here today because of that lullaby, because of that message. I speak about her as, we speak about God. In Africa, we speak about the Great Mother. It is the message of the Great Mother that I got when I was a little girl. And the music and the sound and the rhythm that came, through that African energy that touched me, and why I'm so in love with Ubuntu, the African concept of oneness. So I've got questions for Jonathan as well, but I wanted to share this, just a little bit about me and my connection with sound.
Beautiful, Anna Marie. And of course, Ubuntu is such a gift to the world, coming from your region of the world, from South Africa. I'm sure we'll interlace that into our conversation here some more. Jonathan, one of the things we want to talk about is World Sound Healing Day, which is right around the corner. You're the creator of World Sound Healing Day. Can you tell us a little bit about it? And it's on Valentine's Day. How did that come about?
Well, this is so interesting, Steve, because while, first of all, I want to acknowledge that perhaps an idea of using sound as a healing modality to shift planetary consciousness did come to me in meditation. It is hugely a co-created effort happening throughout the world. And initially, when I first began it, the name came from someone in Australia, someone else, some very, very well-known people. We got together and we said, hey, let's, first of all, try to get a coordinated sound, an intentionalized sound. We'll talk about the power of intention coupled with sound and how that is actually quantum in nature and has the very ability to affect the fiber of reality. But, first thing we needed to do was choose a date. And I thought, golly, what if we went for Valentine's Day, which at least in the United States is a fairly coherent day, and it's celebrated in other places throughout the world. And what if we basically sent a sonic Valentine to what I call the Gaia Matrix, our beloved Mother Earth, with an ah sound, which this ah sound is if you like, it's a universal sound or tone that embodies the energy of love. For example, if you really like something, you go, ah, or ah, type of thing. It's it's usually indicative of this, and it's indicative, if you like, of the heart chakra. So, boy, as I'm talking about this, I am, if you like, getting the hit to see if I can somehow, and this may be a bit of a challenge for me, coordinate and possibly, if it's okay with you, get at least queued up something from the Tibetan tradition, which is called the Heart Sutra, and basically that deals with the asana. Would we like to listen to this, you think?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go for this just for a couple of minutes and see how people feel. And the idea, actually the Heart Sutra is basically said to, I love it. It's said to bring enlightenment to anyone who hears it. So maybe we'll all get enlightened from this one. So let's give a little listen to it for a couple of minutes, and you'll hear the ah sound. Well, how about that? You know what? Somehow it manifested as something else, but I don't know what this is. Oh, I know what this is indeed. I know what this is. This is my dear friend Sarah Benson, and she's working with an asana, and we like to call her the Divine Mother of Sound Healing, because she was just an extraordinary being of light and love through sound. So here we go now with the ah from the Heart Sutra. But we all like to use ahs. Well, I'm wondering, are we all feeling enlightened now?
It's a beautiful.
Extraordinary, Jonathan. Really, thank you for bringing that in. Beautiful. And, you might mention there's a formula here with it for sound healing. You want to talk about the formula?
Thank you so much, Steve, because I think this initially hit me back in the 1980s when I was working on my master's thesis in basically researching the uses of sound and music for healing for Lesley University. And at the time, I had literally collected hundreds of different systems that would use sound and music for healing, and particularly, sounds that would resonate the chakras. And I had these pages together, and I began basically correlating and putting them together, and I saw that, and there was no reason that the people who reported this information, whether I got it from books or private correspondence or seminars that I attended, why the people who reported this information were not doing anything but telling their experiences, and yet these different frequencies and different sounds didn't necessarily line up. And I remember sitting in front of my computer, and this is going so far back that I used a DOS operating system. I don't know if anybody is young enough to remember that one, with basically amber letters on a dark screen flashing in front of me. And I had my head in my hands and really in a state of intellectual angst. And I thought, well, God, I come from a family of doctors. I know there is a science of using sound, and yet how can this be that there are different systems that seem to work? And this voice, and I don't know who the voice was, perhaps my angelic self, perhaps some sort of, transcended master of sound, but this voice said, it is not only the sound of the individual making and receiving this energy that creates the effect, but also the intention of the person making and receiving this. And I wrote down the words, frequency plus intent equals healing. And literally, it was like a light bulb went off in my psyche, and I went, wow, this really makes sense. And now, Steve, more than probably about 30 years later, this seems to be more and more valid, to the degree that I'm able to use this formula and say this formula may be if you like, unified field theory in terms of working with the quantum nature of reality.
Yeah,
so intention, yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. And we've talked about this before. I believe believe it's true that we have to enter our intention in with the frequency of the music to create healing, and it's so simple but so powerful. Anna Marie is here again, my partner, and I want to just invite her to come in with questions. Also, put your questions in the window. There are some questions that have come in. We'll get to them here shortly. But Anna Marie's going to go next here.
Yeah, thank you, Steve, and thanks, Jonathan. What you're discussing now, Jonathan, is very much part of a question that I have for you today, and this goes. It's around the novel that you wrote called Forbidden Frequencies: The Lost Chord, and certainly this sound that you're talking about, the R sound. Through my research on the African concept of oneness, I've had the privilege to delve into the ancient African cosmology and the symbols that go with it. Okay, so one of the symbols in Africa, well, this is a universal symbol, is that of the Ankh, and we can hear that, here we hear, it is the sound of the Ankh. And so we're looking at it as a symbol, we'll recognize it as that cross with a loop at the top. Okay, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So on one hand, we can see that this has a symbolic value, but the Ankh also had a practical application. And here I'm thinking about the tool that you're using, Jonathan. I'm sure that these things all, coming from ancient, the tools that we have today come from ancient knowledge, that gets carried over. But what I wanted to say about this is that when we talk about healing and wholeness and so on, you spoke about the giving and the receiving here, is, often, we sit as receivers. So we listen to music, it has an influence on us, and it shapes us, and it transforms us. But I've seen that there is great transformation when sound comes through us. As you've said just now, so when we make the sound coming, so there's an intention, connecting with the sound, making the sound, producing the sound, and putting it out into the world. I wanted to share that, and then I wanted to ask you, you're talking about the interdimensional gateway that is produced by these forbidden frequencies. What is this really what these forbidden frequencies are all about? Is this the lost chord that you are talking about in your novel?
Well, Anne-Marie, thank you. And first of all, it's really interesting because if you go back to the Cometian tradition, and the Cometian is actually the name of Egypt, yes, probably 80 dynasties ago. And I spoke to a master of the Cometian tradition, a man by the name of Hakim, who has since passed, but we talked about the power of the Ah. I literally, met him and asked him, I said, what do you think is the sound of the heart? And he said, Ah. And it's really interesting. You mentioned the Ankh, and I have just always had the thought that somehow that the Ankh was really, it looks very much like a tuning fork.
Yes.
And I always thought that the Ankh, way back when, may have somehow been some sort of tuning fork that resonated to some extraordinary energy that could manifest miracles.
Yeah, I know that here in South Africa, I've heard talks where people. So what I'm talking about is exactly that. It is the Kemetic origin of this sound, the Ankh, and where this all comes from. And certainly in articles that I have, there are explanations. So it creates a magnetic field. So it explains how, when you wire this, with a coil, how it produces this electromagnetic field, and so how you can physically use the Ankh, but then also the sound that it makes, and the healing powers that it has. And I have some beautiful information about it, and I find it so inspirational. And I really feel that it informs us, of who we are as human beings when we go into the ancient knowledge. And I think this is what you're talking about, maybe in your novel, the information that is in a big way forbidden, or it's not all that available to us, or we don't think it's there, we don't think about it.
Well, it's so interesting that you mentioned this, because the last thing that that I created, which is available on our healingsounds.com website, is something called the Gaia frequency tuning forks. And there, if you like, is a frequency that is called a Schumann resonance, and it's said to be the frequency of the Earth. And it basically vibrates at about 7.83 cycles a second, which is a great frequency, except it's too low for us to reproduce. But there has been discovered a way that if you take two different sound sources, there is a difference between the two different sound sources, and if you can make the difference 7.83, which I did with these tuning forks, and you hold them to your ears, literally the sound goes into your brain, gets transferred into the energy in our nervous system, and we're able to resonate to this Gaia frequency. So it's so interesting just talking about that. But that, of course, from my belief system, is I think there are so many multitudinous different sacred sounds and frequencies on the planet that we would be doing ourselves great injustice if we were simply to try to limit it to one or two.
Jonathan, let me bring in questions here from, there's a Dr. Ada who wanted to know, is your music considered binaural? And also, how can people buy your music?
Okay, first of all, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm probably the person who actually literally introduced the binaural beat frequency phenomena, and this was in the 1980s. I literally did an article on what I called sonic entrainment, which means the ability of sound to change and shift our frequencies, to the International Society of Music and Medicine. This is composed of well-known doctors and scientists, and I basically took information. I hadn't done the research. I just collaborated it all together and put it out there. And the first piece that we listened to was, and I like binaural, but some of it is the placebo effect. By this, I mean that, as I described with the Schumann resonance, that difference between the two sounds is considered a binaural beat frequency, particularly if you have one tuning fork and you hit one, bring it to your ear, and you hit the other one, bring it to the other ear. It does create this difference tone, or binaural, meaning two sounds. But nevertheless, I think, and I'm just going to be truly honest with you, I think the power of the placebo effect is really extraordinary, and almost I'm beginning to think that it may be one of the more important aspects of just literally the way that we perceive the planet and its effect. So, for example, and that could go under the category, if you like, of intention. Because I've seen people, for example, you tell someone that this sound is going to have this effect, and probably 60–70% of the time it's going to have that effect. You'll tell someone else that it's going to have a different effect, and it will have a different effect. Such is the power of intentionality.
Amazing.
And I really thank you. Most of my music is, if you like, available online and downloads and through iTunes and all that stuff. And once again, I would always recommend people come to our healingsounds.com website, because there's all sorts of free stuff that we give out, including this wonderful 7-minute chakra recording that is a free download. And we just get all these emails from people who use this daily to put themselves in balance, and I give thanks for that. So thank you for that question.
You bet. I've got another one here, but let Anna Marie come in first, and then I'll go with another question from a listener.
Yeah, what I'm thinking now is, in our house, I am the disc jockey, okay? So whenever we get together, and there's always music playing, but I insist on being the disc jockey. And so I can see that throughout the ages, it's just wonderful to gather around music and the effect that music and sound has on all of that, on all of us. But so today, I mean, in the olden days, that was, in the ancient days, this was really what it was all about. People would gather in their communities, and they would sit together and they would dance and sing together. These days, it doesn't happen. It's not automatically part of everyday life. But what I'm thinking about here, Jonathan, is you spoke about the aspect of intention. But then there's another aspect which I want to hear what you feel about, and this comes into this whole thing of participation, the role of participation, and again touching on the traditional and indigenous practice. So we see that with the traditional practice is that there's no barrier between the dancers and the onlookers. Life is a dance, life is sound, life is music. So the whole community participates, with their body, mind, and spirit and everything. So, and there's something else that I feel is maybe also different in the way that we look at the influence of sound today, and that is that unlike the belief that sound and dance is performed to go into trance, it may be more accurate to say that sound and trance is a vehicle to come out of trance and to come out of the illusion of separateness. I heard someone saying that one day, and I thought, wow, that really makes a lot of sense, because I think in a big way, we think, we need to go into trance, but maybe we are in a trance, we need to get out of the trance.
Listen, I can only A, agree with you. B, I'd like to suggest that participation is mandatory, which is why, of course, World Sound Healing Day is not just me alone making an ah sound. I like to think of the formula of 1 + 1 = 3 when you get into a participatory effect. And that actually occurs with sound, because we were talking about the difference tone. I just want to tell you something kind of interesting, because on a level, I don't really make much of a difference between making sound and dancing. And in fact, there is, in the Hindu tradition, the dancing Shiva who dances the world into creation through the rhythms of their dance, and rhythm is sound. Just a real quick thing, from making self-created sounds such as the ah, or singing together or whatnot, all these different things occur on a physiological aspect in people's bodies, including increased oxygen in our cells, lowered blood pressure, increased levels of melatonin, which is a wonderful, wonderful hormone for everything from the enhancement of sleep to now it's being used for treatment of depression. The release of endorphins, which are those great self-created opiates that work as natural pain relievers, and being basically the release of nitric oxide, which is a molecule associated with the promotion of healing. But finally, when you make sound with someone else, you get the release of oxytocin, which is the trust hormone. So when you people are either dancing or singing together, all those barriers of separation disappear, and we become as one. Does this make sense?
Absolutely, and it's the answer to that saying that says, to know God is to engage with God. I think this is why we produce sound, and this is why we dance together. That is the way, for us to connect with, that which is the highest thing that we can connect to.
Well, there's this phenomenon. Oh, I'm sorry. There's this phenomenon. Okay.
We're going to get to a listener question. We're going to talk more about World Sound Healing Day. It's just around the corner. It's an incredibly important public service, I'm going to call it, day, and that everybody can participate in. Jonathan will talk about how we can all participate from our community. But let me just bring in two quick important announcements. Within Humanities Team, strategically, one of the things that is really crucial that we're working on is a Conscious Business Alliance. We're partners with 3 other global NGOs. Of course, we're Humanities Team. There's the Club of Budapest, based out of Europe, the Goy Peace Foundation, based out of Japan, and the Fowler Center for Business out of Case Western Reserve University. And we came together. We spent a year creating a conscious business declaration so that we can make businesses generators of nurturing and positive things in health and well-being. It says in the declaration, the purpose of business is to increase economic prosperity while contributing to a healthy environment and improving human well-being. Our Alliance shares that business must be about more than just financial profit. We encourage you to go to consciousbusinessdeclaration.org, and you can read the declaration and sign it. It's strategically so important to the planet at this time, particularly following recent elections here in the U.S. and elsewhere in the world. Related to that, Humanities team's in the lead on this Conscious Business Initiative, of course it's a global effort to transform business. We know the project is ambitious, but with your assistance we're actually making incredible progress. We invite you to go, we're going to put a link in the window here in just a moment for this Conscious Business Initiative, so you can click on the link and you can go to a video that will tell you a little more about what it is. And if you resonate with the work, we invite you can contribute $25 or $50 or even $5 to this initiative. Again, we're going to put that link in the window here in a second, and also the link to the Conscious Business Declaration. You'll see those links. So pardon me for coming in here with those. I just wanted to get to them in the program because they're so strategically important to the planet at this time. At least that's our feeling. Jonathan, I'm going to bring in a question, and then let's get to World Sound Healing Day, how people can participate. This question says, I feel the music energetically, especially in my heart and my hips. Is that normal?
Really quick, yes, particularly since most of the music that I like to create certainly affects the heart and your hips, which are probably related to your lower chakras, means that your lower chakras and your heart are interrelated. What a blessing. Steve, I want to also say that I love your consciousness initiative. I just really, really honor it. And that really brings me to the subject of World Sound Healing Day, because basically the purpose of World Sound Healing Day is by sending this sonic valentine to the Gaia matrix, to the energy of the Mother Earth. Our intention is ultimately to assist and accelerate the consciousness of all sentient beings on the planet. And by gosh and by golly, I know that everyone listening knows that we need to create a shift of consciousness from one of competition to cooperation, allowing us to work together to create solutions for the problems that are now existing. And real quick, if it's okay, we have a specific website that is dedicated to World Sound Healing Day and has a whole lot of information on World Sound Healing Day, how you can either take part in an event or list an event. You can also get a free download of an training sound that basically teaches you how to do that. And the website is simply worldsoundhealingday.com. And it's got some really good information. And once again, if we can somehow shift and change the consciousness of a majority of the beings on our planet, we become sonic activists. And by doing this, we help heal our planet, we help heal our waters, and we help to raise the consciousness. What more could you want?
Amen. And the day again, and on a website that people can go to just participate, be an active participant in World Sound Healing Day.
So that's February 14th, 2017, and the website is worldsoundhealingday.com. And, once again, it's just, blessings to thank you so much for allowing me to spread this information. But there's actually scientific data to show that through our consciousness, which is encoded on the sound, we can actually interface with, once again, what I like to call the Gaia matrix. People have a lot, our beloved Mother Earth, whatever name you want to use, and that it somehow makes a difference.
Okay, amen to that. It makes a huge difference. Jonathan likes to say when we heal ourselves, we heal the world, because we are all one. And when we heal the world, we heal ourselves. And it's beautifully said. Anna Marie, coming back to you, and you have so much wisdom and poetry and just beauty you bring in from your special region of the world.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. You know, it is the first month of the year. Um, the arts, when we look at astrology, you know, it's all about creation. The first month of the year, it's all about creation. And there's that song or that saying that goes, "Do not die with a song in your heart." And I'd like to leave us with this message, is to say, you know, at the beginning of this year, let us connect with the Creator that is inside of us. You know, let us not die with a song in our heart. Let us stay in touch with whatever it is that we want to create next, because I believe that is what the world wants. You know, is for us to be the creators, that authentic creators that we are, and not to die with our song in our heart.
Emery,
Beautiful.
that's so beautiful. Could I just really quickly add that lately, in fact, I'm working on a brand new book with my wife that's going to be coming out soon, and you know, we have basically become more and more focused on simply using the word sound, because so many people become intimidated with the idea of music. Oh, I can't sing. Oh, I'm not a musician. Oh, I can't do this and that. So we say, yeah, but everybody can make an ah sound, but that ah can be the song. You know, in the beginning was the word, you know, and the Lord said, let there be light. Sound being the original creative force. In the Hindu tradition, they say, not a Brahman. The world is sound. So once again, I love this idea of, you know, letting this song come out, and perhaps for a lot of people, just starting with a sound, and then the sound will emerge into something wonderful and beautiful on its own, because that's what it wants to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Jonathan, can you talk about World Sound Healing Day? This is you're at the, I forget, 6th, 7th, or 8th. Can you talk about some of the impact that you've observed worldwide that's come from World Sound Healing Day?
Steve, I'm afraid to tell you that it's actually the 15th.
15th, okay.
And you know, in terms of the impact, well, Lord, I don't know, because if something positive, you know, there are literally tens of thousands of people throughout the planet, in hundreds of countries, who are taking part in this, and basically doing, you know, sometimes years later I'll find out, oh, you know, I come from this country. In this country, we declared on this day World Sound Healing Day, and everybody took part in this. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that positive impacts, simply from my perspective, may go unnoticed, but maybe shifting something really nasty from happening, and just things going on as they are. Now, certainly, as I noted, places such as the Global Consciousness Project from Princeton University have been able to log, if you like, the effects of this on their computers, and been able to basically chart it out. So we know something's going on. Exactly what, I don't know. I like to believe that perhaps the fact that we're all still here may be due in no small part to the fact that we have all resonated, or a majority of conscious beings have resonated together. And as you know, as is known, when we make intentionalized sound, literally the geomagnetic, electromagnetic field of our heart basically gets into a state of coherence, and goes from anywhere from 500 to 5,000 times greater than normal, and can probably, yes, interface with the literal energy of our planet. And that is amazing, and that's so important.
Yes, it is. And let me just say, too, especially, you know, I referenced the election in the U.S. and other things going on globally, and it does seem that we're being spurred to action, all of us now, doesn't it? That no longer can we afford to just metaphorically sit in the stands, that we're all being invited to come down on the field and to play a role, and spiritual unity and spiritual activism are perhaps calling to all of us. And music, you know, is a dimension of this, and this is it is a public service day. World Sound Healing Day has no financial benefit. It was created by Jonathan and co-creators that he is invited to promote with him, just for the sole purpose of placing a focus on our individual healing and on world healing. And so just want to invite you all to just see if this resonates, this idea of toning with others around the world at noon Eastern Standard Time or any time on Valentine's Day. But coming in, it's a fun thing that we can do with our kids, with our spouse, in our community, even at schools. My kids go to Waldorf schools. So really want to invite you all to participate this year. It's such an incredible project that Jonathan Goldman created. Anna Marie, I want to come back to you for just special insights and wisdom here as we're coming up on the end of the call soon.
There's something that I'm sitting here wondering, as we're closing the call, Steve, when we look at the world around us, a question that comes up for me now is there's a lot of noise around. There's a lot of sound around, but I'm wondering whether part of what we are seeing happening in the world right now is not perhaps due to our, not inability, but our lack of listening to one another, do we really, when we speak, do we speak from the heart? Are we listening to one another? I think that is something that we must consider. Are we really listening? Because I feel in a big way we are not listening to one another.
Oh my goodness gracious! I'm trying to stay away from the less than positive aspects of what is manifesting at this particular time and place, but I could only be in such agreement with you to the degree, believe it or not, that it's really wonderful that we can listen to earbuds and listen now, 10,000 songs on our iPod, but it's it's become sort of a separatist activity as opposed to, I am a child of the Woodstock Nation where we had 500,000 people boogieing together, and that may date me and whatnot, but it was an extraordinary experience. And if you like, Swami Satchidananda was there, and he led 500,000 people in chanting together, and that may have been one of the great, if you like, things that I'm still trying to recreate with World Sound Healing Day in terms of getting all these people together, because it is phenomenal, it is miraculous, it is quantum in nature. And the one real quick thing that I want to say is that I think it's so very, very important that people become activists in terms of certainly making their voices heard physically through various protests and whatnot, but also I think it's so very, very important that we become sonic activists through using and connecting with the spiritual, so we become spiritually activated as well and raise the consciousness. It's both. It's not either or, but both. Does that feel correct?
Absolutely.
Yes. Sonic activists, practitioners of unity, of spiritual unity, and then spiritual activists. It's just, it's our time really to live it and just to live it authentically, as we listen to each other, as we express what oneness is, with all of the imperfections of what authenticity is. Just where we create that time to go within and really connect with the divine and be an expression of that, and then live that out in the way that we listen and the way that we tone, in the way that we are with our partner and with our kids and in our community and in the world. We're all kind of lighthouses to each other, aren't we? Because we each have a different way of expressing music in oneness,
Really?
expressing love in oneness, and that diversity. It's so beautiful.
In
we
Africa,
really. Yeah,
saying
please.
that
Excuse me.
sorry. So in Africa, we have a saying that goes, I feel the other, I dance the other, I am.
I love that, and
Okay, we've only got 3 minutes here, so just some real quick things here. First, Jonathan, I want to just thank you for your incredible wisdom, your heart, your work. You're amazing. Anna Marie Peters, she's my just beautiful inside in out partner. Love you so much. Thank you for just the incredible wisdom that you bring to these monthly programs. It's such a pleasure to co-host these with you. I'm going to thank you all some more, but let me just go to a few other quick things here before we close. There's an upcoming program that you don't want to miss. It's on Thursday, February 9th, so that's in 2 weeks. It's at 9 o'clock Pacific time, and John Thomas and Steve Melville, who are the co-directors of this conscious business initiative that's creating global change and transformation in business, are going to be our guests. Anna Marie Peters and I will be co-hosting that program. We're focusing on commerce, which is, or the economy, which is business. So again, that's 9 o'clock Pacific time on Thursday, February 9th. Be sure to join us for that program and bring your questions. It'll be a live video broadcast, and we'll be doing a question and answer. This program is focused on living in oneness, so I want to invite you to something called Community Circle. It's only $10 a month. It's an intentional community for those that are living in oneness, those who want to collaborate and connect with leaders involved in spiritual activism. It gives you continuous access to over 350 programs, including video programs like this one from Living in Oneness Summit and Global Oneness Day, so that you can listen year-round with your family. There also are weekly Heart Circle video broadcasts where people come in live and just share of their intimately of their successes and challenges. It's kind of a support call that's weekly. If you go to humanitiesteam.org, or we just put in the window here in the chat window or question window, we put a link to the humanitiesteam.org website. You can scroll down and you'll see in a rectangle Community Circle to learn more about it. It's only $10 a month, and it's such an incredible support to many of us in Humanities Team and our partners. So thank you again, Jonathan Goldman. Thank you, Anna Marie Peters.
Thank you.
Just what an
Thank you,
incredible program.
Thank you, Steve.
And let me thank also our colleagues and partners, Gareth Catterall, Lynette Kennedy, Dee Meyer, and Caroline Chang. They are the ones that are actually running this broadcast, bringing in questions, helping to get word out about the program. And then saving the best for last, thank you to each of you who are participating. Thanks for making it a priority to be with us here each week. And in closing, I want to invite all of us to live as one. Of course, we'll each do this in our own way. When we live as one, we draw on the presence and the power and the peace of the divine. So we'll see you in 2 weeks on Thursday, February 9th at 9 o'clock Pacific time, when we'll be talking about growing the conscious business movement. Have a great day. And last words, Anna Marie and Jonathan this week.
Thank you to you,
Thank-
Steve. Thank you, Jonathan. It was wonderful.
And listen, I'm bringing it up. World Sound Healing Day, February 14th, worldsoundhealingday.com. Thank you and blessings. Om and Ah and Shalom and Salam to all.
Beautiful. We'll be there. Global World Sound Healing Day. Fantastic. Thanks again, Jonathan and Anna Marie. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Really a
Bye,
pleasure to be with you.
everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.